The idea behind the show is simply asking guests what they would tell a stranger on a plane if they were sitting next to them and the stranger asked them for advice.
The scenery is passing very fast, but the seer is constant. The one who's seeing is the same.
Let me appreciate you for asking a question that I haven't been asked after 2,500 or so interviews over the years.
Is you have to drop the ego, which is everyone's greatest obstacle.
In 2008, Grant and I had been married for 4 years. I was pregnant with my first child. The economy was collapsing, and we were on the verge of losing everything financially.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Enlightened Passenger Show. Today's Enlightened Passenger is Stephen M.R. Covey. I'm so stoked to have him here today. And I should start by asking him, because I didn't ask this before, but it's Covey versus Covey, right?
That's right. Covey. Yes, you got it right.
And I've heard your name and your father's name pronounced that way many times, but then you start saying, has everybody been pronouncing it right or wrong? Because I think it was Adele. They just came out and said that we were pronouncing her name wrong, and I can't even pronounce it properly this time, and nobody corrected. She didn't correct anybody. So I just like to double check. And I will say for context too, we had, I believe it was your sister on recently. She has a book out too, correct?
Absolutely.
So really cool. We had a good synergy there with having her on, and now we have you on. And Stephen, where I'm going to start, I like to start for some reason with this show because we don't have a lot of time to lead up to big questions. I usually start asking people about legacy, and I'm going to ask you about that. But I think I want to start by asking you about trust as a word, because I don't ask people usually about other words outside of legacy, but you built a career around this word trust in a lot of ways. I want to ask you first and foremost, what does trust mean to you?
Yeah. Well, here's what trust means to me. To me, trust is the ultimate currency that makes our world work. I try to imagine a world without trust. You couldn't even drive in your car, because if you couldn't trust that people would, follow the basic rules of driving on the road, if you couldn't trust, you wouldn't do anything. Our whole world revolves around trust. But relationships are also built on trust. The best relationships are those in which people can trust each other. They're more enduring. They're also happier, more productive. The best teams are based upon trust. The best organizations based upon trust. Trust is what enables us to really thrive in our world today. And the best way to think about the value of trust is try to imagine a world or a relationship or an organization without it. And nothing works. And so to me, trust is the foundational element that helps organizations work, relationships work, and really makes our world go round. It's the ultimate currency. And it comes from the fact that we have both our character and competence. There's two halves of it. It's someone you could trust someone for their character, but not trust them because they're not competent.
Right.
Or vice versa. Maybe someone can get the job done, but you're not sure about their agenda, their motive, their integrity. You need to have both the character and the competence to have that trust. But when you have it, everything is better. Everything moves faster. It's like a performance multiplier for everything. That's why I call it the ultimate currency of our world today is trust.
So I love that. And again, I'm gonna make sure I ask you about legacy, but I want to go down the trust rabbit hole for another second, because I want to ask you about the new book. And I'm usually against an actual wall, but today I'm with a green screen, so it's sometimes hard to show a book. So I'm gonna put it in front of me. See if I can do that. It's a little hard. Yeah. Anyway.
There you go. Okay. Looks great.
So my question, Stephen, is going by memory, but one of your other books on trust was The Speed of Trust. Do I remember that correctly? And so my question is, what's the difference between this book, Trust and Inspire, and The Speed of Trust?
Yes. The Speed of Trust is a great foundational book for how to build trust in any relationship or on a team, in a culture. It kind of breaks down trust into its component parts of how there's the credibility part of trust, and that's your character and your competence, but also the behavior part of trust. You behave your way into trust, just like you could behave your way out of trust. So you do things like talk straight and create transparency and clarify expectations and practice accountability and listen first and keep commitments and extend trust. Those are all behaviors that help you build it. So it's very foundational and really is valuable to everybody in any relationship, on a team, in an organization, of how you build trust. By contrast, trust and inspire is really intended to be a way of leading, a style of leadership that is more relevant and accurate and complete in our world today. And the premise is this, is that the world has changed in profound ways, and yet our style of leadership has not, or at least has not kept pace with this changing world. Too many leaders and organizations are still operating out of the old model, what we might call command and control, and the hierarchical top-down type of thing, but they become better at it. They become more advanced, more sophisticated. I call it an enlightened version of command and control. Better, much better, but the paradigm of how they view people, how they view leadership, is still based on the old model. And I'm arguing that command and control doesn't work anymore in our new world of work, where people have choices and options. They can go anywhere, work anywhere, live anywhere. And also in a world with as many as 5 generations, including Gen Z and millennials, that want a completely different way to engage. And in a world that's completely shifting, command and control doesn't work in this new world. People don't want to be managed. People want to be led. They want to be trusted. They want to be inspired. So I'm saying, in contrast to command and control, if that doesn't work anymore, what does? I'm saying it's trust and inspire, in contrast to command and control. And it's describing a way of leading that gets results, but does it in a way that sees, communicates, develops, and unleashes the greatness that's in others. So you get results in a way that grows people and that develops the greatness. You see the greatness, you communicate it, you develop it, you unleash it. So you're bringing out the best in others, and you see them as whole people. And it's more relevant for our new world. It's going to be able to attract people. Again, people don't want to be managed, but they do want to be led, trusted, and inspired. And I ask each of our listeners to just think about, if you've had a trust and inspire leader in your life, a figure, a parent, a family member, a coach, a mentor, a friend, a leader at work, someone who believed in you, someone who saw potential in you, who maybe believed in you more than you believed in yourself, someone who had confidence in you, someone who gave you a chance, gave you an opportunity, maybe gave you an opportunity before you thought you were ready for it. And they said, nah, you got this, and I've got your back. You can do this. And they helped you come to see yourself differently and believe in yourself. That's a trust and inspire leader, a person who trusted and inspired us and believed in us. And I'm saying this is the kind of leadership we need today in this new world of work, where people have choices and options and can go anywhere. And so where do they choose to be? With organizations and leaders who trust them and who inspire them, not who command and control them. And so that's the idea. This is a leadership book talking about the kind of leadership needed today. The only thing is, though, I'll put a little caveat. When I say a leadership book, it's really for everyone. Every leadership is a choice, not a position. Everyone's a leader. So you can be a trust and inspire parent, trust and inspire neighbor, family member, community member, as well as leader and coach and mentor and friend. And it's a way of being and of living. And, the way to become a trust and inspire leader is to first become a trust and inspire person. So it's a way of thinking about how we interact. Do we see the greatness, the potential inside of people, and are we trying to unleash it? Or are we instead trying to contain and control it? Kind of two different mindsets. And I think what's going to work today is not the old command and control, even an enlightened version of it. That's an inaccurate paradigm, not complete. A better paradigm is to see people as whole people with greatness inside of them, trust and inspire. It's a better way to lead in a new world of work.
Wow. So I could almost say mic drop there. I want to ask you then, I said I want to talk about legacy. And so I wanted to go with a question that I think is related to legacy. And then maybe we'll lead into what legacy means to you. Excuse me. But I believe for a lot of people, family is a part of their legacy. And so I'd like to, did we freeze?
Now I see you.
Okay, we froze for a sec, but at least we didn't get not kicked off. So at least
we got those 2 questions in. So so let's start again on this next question.
So I want to talk to you about legacy, and I've been kind of teasing that, but I want to ask you, and I think for a lot of people, family is a part of legacy. And so I think, and I shouldn't assume, but I think most people would know who your father was, and the great legacy that he built. But what I want to ask you is, before you tell us, and maybe you can put them both together if you want to finish off with what legacy means to you, but I'd love to get your take on maybe some life advice that you learned from him.
Yes, I learned a lot of things from my dad, and he's Stephen R. Covey wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Principles in Leadership, First Things First, the 8th Habit, number of books. And I'll tell you what, I learned several things from him, but here's one. First is this, that as good as my father was in public, as an author and as a teacher, and he was very, very good, as good as he was in public, he was even better in private. As a husband to my mother, as a father to us kids, he was who you thought he was. He had real integrity. So maybe that's the first thing, is I saw in him an example of someone who really did his best to practice what he taught and believed it. He wasn't one thing publicly and another thing privately. No, he was authentic. He was the same person in private that he was in public. I would say even better in private than he was in public, because of how deeply he cared and connected to people everywhere, especially to his family, but to everyone all the time. And that's real integrity. That's real authenticity. So the first is I saw an example, a model of the kind of person I want to be. But the second is that I saw that my father was really focused on significance, on legacy, on your very point, on mattering, that life is about contribution, not accumulation. It's about making a difference, and really about moving ultimately from success to significance. And there's a pathway to that. We start, at survival to stability, and then we move from stability to success. But once you've achieved success, that's not enough to inspire. There's another contribution that can be made as you move from success to significance, to mattering, to making a difference in the life of others, to serving, to contributing. And that life really is all about purpose and meaning and contribution. And I saw that in him, of how he tried to make a difference. And so that is the sense of legacy that I feel, is that I'm standing on the shoulders of a giant. Mm-hmm. As I think it was Isaac Newton said, that if I have seen farther than others, it's only because I stood on the shoulders of giants. And I say the same thing about what I've written on trust and on leadership, that I've been standing on the shoulders of a giant. And I acknowledge that, and I'm thankful for that. And I feel a sense of stewardship as part of this legacy, to try to, that's the job with the trust, to try to be my father's son and to continue his legacy, and to try to be additive to it, but also keep it moving forward. And so, but I think the legacy needs to be around contribution, and not just trying to have success, material success. There's nothing wrong with that, but really trying to move into making a difference, into mattering. And that's why in both the Speed of Trust and in Trust and Inspire, I'm really trying to say, what if we could build greater trust in our relationships, on our teams and organizations? And what if we could lead in a way that sees and communicates and develops and unleashes the inherent greatness that's in others? So we bring out their best and what they're capable of doing. Wouldn't that be an extraordinary contribution to make? And to see that as a stewardship that we have as leaders. And that, to me, is a sense of legacy, to want to continue this idea of living a life of significance and helping others to live life of significance. And as a leader, to help bring out the potential, the greatness, the talent that's inside of other people. That's real leadership. And so I feel a sense of stewardship for that, but also a sense of legacy. And that's what those are the shoulders I'm standing upon. And I want to be true to that stewardship I've been given, and try to continue that, and to keep focusing on significance and on contribution above accumulation.
I love that. And I love that contribution above accumulation. I don't know if, I don't know if I've heard that before. But now I can't unhear it. I love that. So very cool. So Stephen, the next question I want to ask you is the question I've been building up to. And then I have one more question that's similar, but I'll explain the difference. But the question I've been building up to is the passenger question. And it's simply this: if you were sitting next to a passenger, a stranger on a plane, and they leaned over to you and said, I need some advice. What do you got? I'll say it as simple as that. But, any kind of life advice, what do you think you might tell a stranger on a plane?
I might say this, that there's 4 parts of our nature, 4 dimensions, and to have a balance in all 4 of these is part of how we will, quote, succeed as human beings. And it's body, heart, mind, spirit. So for the body, it's to live. For the heart, it's to love. For the mind, it's to learn. And for the spirit, it's to leave a legacy. To live, to love, to learn, to leave a legacy. The body, the heart, the mind, the spirit. We're whole people. And so we need to live. And that's the economic need. We need that. But by itself, it's not enough to only work for money. We also have a heart. We want to connect with people. We want to have caring and a sense of belonging. We want to love and be loved. And so that's the heart part. And so to love, to live, to love. But then we have a mind and we want to develop and grow and contribute. So we want to learn and constantly be growing and improving and getting better, a growth mindset. I call that to learn. And then finally, we want to matter because we have a spirit, meaning desire to make a difference, this holistic idea of contribution and making a difference, to matter. And again, staying with the theme of L's, to leave a legacy. So body, heart, mind, spirit, to live, to love, to learn, to leave a legacy. And that way, it's not just only about legacy. It's also saying, let's be in the arena and let's live, but let's also love while we're living and let's learn while we're living. And we know it's all about mattering, leaving a legacy, body, heart, mind, spirit, to live, to love, to learn, to leave a legacy. That would be my advice for anyone, to say, let's look at yourself as a whole person. And here's a way of succeeding in all dimensions of your personality and of you as a human being.
So my last official question, this is the one I said somewhat similar, but you'll spot the difference, I think, quickly. But it's the time machine question, I call it. Now, this one I've asked many more times than the passenger one. They're the only 2 questions, by the way, that I ever sort of plan in any respect. The rest is all just, I follow where the universe takes me, if you want to say it that way. But this question here, and it's the last official question. Of course, I want to know more about the book and how we can learn more and all that kind of stuff. But this last question is the time machine question. And it's like it sounds, if you could jump into a time machine. Now, here's the difference. And you could go back and talk to a younger Stephen. So versus a stranger, a younger Stephen, and give him some advice. What do you think you might tell younger Stephen?
Wonderful question. I think I would tell younger Stephen that I think I'd say this, that to see yourself as a leader in every aspect of life. I initially saw myself as, you're a leader if you're in a management role or a position if you're leading people. Because over time I realized, no, leadership is a choice, not a position. We can lead in our homes, we can lead in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and we can lead in all kinds of different ways. Everyone can be a leader. You can lead always. And so if you see leadership as a choice, not a position, then suddenly we're all a leader. Then I would say, and in your leading, there's always 3 things to try to do to help bring out the best in those that you're leading, because leadership is about others, not about yourself. It's about responsibilities, not rights. We have a stewardship for those that we're leading. And again, that's not necessarily supervising people. That's leading in relationships and in a community, in any endeavor. But the stewardships are these: to model, to trust, and to inspire. Modeling, trusting, inspiring. Those are 3 stewardships, 3 responsibilities, 3 jobs with a trust we've been given in any role, in any leadership that we do, to be a model of the very behaviors we'd like to see, to go first, to model the behavior. If we want more respect, then let's be the first to demonstrate and show respect. Model the behavior. To trust people because of what trusting others does to them, how they tend to rise to the trust being given, how they tend to perform better, how they tend to become inspired, and how they tend to reciprocate and return the trust to you. And to be trusted is the most inspiring form of human motivation. So we need to trust people in a smart way. I'm not saying blindly. We need to trust. And finally, we need to inspire others. And I think we've too often conflated inspiration with charisma. I'm separating them. Everyone can inspire. It's a learnable skill. How do we inspire? Well, we inspire when we model the behavior. We inspire when we trust others. But we also inspire when we connect with people through caring and a sense of belonging. And when we connect people to purpose and to meaning and to contribution, that will inspire. So connect with people through caring and belonging, and connect to purpose, to meaning, to contribution. That's to mattering and to leave a legacy. That will inspire. The point is, we all can inspire. These are stewardships we have as a human being, as a leader, to model, to trust, to inspire. Learn that early, because then you'll be a different kind of leader. It won't be about you. It'll be about others. It won't be about your rights. It'll be about your responsibilities. And it won't be about bringing just about your greatness out. It'll be about bringing the greatness in others out. That's what great leadership is about. And you can lead in this way, Stephen. That's what I would tell my younger self.
I love it. So, Stephen, I promised the last, we'll call it unofficial question, but the last question, maybe the most important, is we've had a little bit of time with you today, but for those that maybe are discovering you now, rediscovering or discovering, and they want to follow you further, they want to get the new book, they want to find out where you're speaking down the road, they want to see what you have in the go. Is there a hub or a place that you would send them? Like, is there a directory or a main place?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to trustandinspire.com, trustandinspire.com, and there'll be things there, videos, other things that you can connect with, and you can go deeper. You can follow me on Twitter or on LinkedIn. I'm at Stephen M. R. Covey, or Instagram, and the like. And love to have you follow me and stay connected. And again, in my two main works, The Speed of Trust and Trust and Inspire. And I would invite you, as a listener, as a viewer, to join me and you, Corey, and many others to help bring about a renaissance of trust and inspiration, because we're living in a world that's dangerously low on both trust and inspiration, and we need to counteract that with a different kind of leadership. And so I hope that you will feel inspired to say this resonates, and this is a better way to lead, trust and inspire, versus just a more sophisticated version of command and control. Not near as good. And I think that's a good place where you could connect and follow me, trustandinspire.com.
Amazing stuff. So, Stephen M. R. Covey, this has been an absolute pleasure. With your permission, I'll call it a to be continued, and until next time.
I would love that, Corey, and love to have a next time. So thank you, and thank you to all our listeners. Real
Awesome.
honor.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, joining me with Stephen M. R. Covey. Make sure to check out Trust and Inspire, the new book. Go to trustandinspire.com. And yeah, until next time, this is the Enlightened Passenger, and this has been our Enlightened Passenger for the day. Thank you again, Stephen.